Better Business Bureau is warning about a potential phone scam that's making its way around the Bay Area. People are getting calls from unknown numbers, and once you pick the phone up, the caller asks you something to get you to say the word yes.
You get a call, and the number on the screen isn't one you recognize. For many older adults, answering it feels routine. It might be the doctor's office confirming an appointment, a pharmacy calling about medication, or a grandchild using a new number. So you pick up, and out of habit, you say something simple like yes, or introduce yourself politely. But what most people don't realize is that in those first few seconds, something valuable may already have been taken. Scammers today don't always want your credit card number anymore, they want your voice. And the frightening part is this: the trap often begins because you said these two ordinary phrases. Don't skip this video. The voice print revolution: how scammers steal your voice in 3 seconds.
The Say Yes phone scam, as the Better Business Bureau is calling it, is targeting people.
Picture this. Your phone rings from a number you've never seen. You answer with a polite hello, followed by yes, I can hear you. The call cuts off almost immediately. You shrug and go about your day, never realizing that in those exact 3 seconds, a criminal halfway around the world now owns a perfect digital clone of your voice, powerful enough to empty your checking account or transfer your retirement savings with a single automated command. The envelope scam represents a complete revolution in fraud. Once upon a time, old-school phone scammers needed time, lots of it. They spun long stories, built fake trust, asked for credit card numbers or bank details, and prayed you stayed on the line long enough to hand everything over. That era is dead. Today's scammers don't want your card number. They want something far more dangerous and permanent: your voice print. This is not science fiction. A voice print is a biometric map of your unique vocal characteristics: pitch, timbre, cadence, breathing patterns, even the tiny pauses between words. Banks, credit unions, utility companies, investment platforms, and even some government services now accept your spoken voice as a password. Say, "Yes, I authorize this payment," or "Confirm my identity" into the phone, and the system unlocks access. Scammers have turned that convenience into a weapon. They use robodialers, automated systems that call millions of numbers every hour. The moment a real human voice is detected, usually within the first syllable, high-quality recording begins. They don't need you to stay on the line. 3 seconds of clear speech, "Hello, yes, who's calling?" is often enough. The call drops. You're left confused. They're already gone with what they came for. So how exactly does a 3-second clip become a bank-approved transfer? Modern AI voice cloning tools, with many of them being free or cheap on the open web, can isolate single words like yes, remove background noise, adjust pitch slightly if needed, and then stitch that authentic word into brand new sentences. When the bank's automated voice system asks, "Do you authorize a $4,800 wire transfer to this account?" the cloned voice simply answers yes in your exact tone. The system hears your voice print match and approves the transaction instantly. No human ever gets involved. The shift is brutal in its efficiency. Traditional scams required 10 to 30 minutes of conversation. The voice print heist needs seconds. According to the Federal Trade Commission's 2024 Consumer Sentinel Network data book released in March 2025, reported fraud losses reached $12.5 billion in 2024 alone, a 25% jump from the previous year, with imposter scams and new AI-enabled methods driving much of the increase. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reported that voice cloning and audio deepfake incidents surged dramatically in 2024 to 2025, with many victims losing 5- and 6-figure sums after short, dropped calls captured their voice. We were all raised to respond quickly and helpfully when someone calls. That reflex, answering yes to be polite, is now the single most expensive habit millions of seniors still have. Scammers don't need to trick you into giving money directly. They just need one word to let technology do the stealing for them. But as dangerous as saying that word can be, you need to understand how and why exactly they're going for your voice, and why banks can do nothing to stop it. The biometric boom, when your voice became the new password. A decade ago, proving your identity meant answering security questions: your mother's maiden name, your first pet, your zip code. But companies discovered something troubling. Those answers were becoming easier for criminals to steal. Data breaches, social media, and leaked databases meant traditional security questions were no longer enough. So businesses began turning to something they believed criminals couldn't replicate: your voice. Banks, insurance companies, and telecom providers started adopting voice biometrics, a system that analyzes the unique patterns in a person's speech. Every voice carries tiny characteristics characteristics, tone, pitch, rhythm, and frequency, that create a kind of digital fingerprint known as a voice print. According to Juniper Research in 2023, the number of people using biometric authentication, including voice recognition, is expected to exceed 1.4 billion users globally by 2025. The reason companies rushed toward this technology was simple: convenience. Instead of remembering complicated passwords, customers could simply say phrases like, "I authorize this payment. Yes, reset my password. This is John Smith." The system would compare that audio to the stored voice print and verify the identity automatically. But here's the problem most people never considered. Every piece of technology designed to make life easier also creates a new doorway for criminals to exploit. And scammers noticed something that security experts had underestimated. Voice biometrics assumes the person speaking is actually the account owner. But if someone could record your voice, manipulate the audio, or recreate it with artificial intelligence, that system could be fooled. In other words, the same technology designed to protect people could be turned against them. And there's one word criminals are especially eager to capture during these calls. In fact, they design entire scripts around getting people to say it. The yes trap, the one-word scammers want more than anything. Your phone rings from a number you don't recognize. You answer cautiously. "Hello?" A voice responds, slightly muffled, like someone adjusting a headset. "Hi, sorry about that. My microphone is acting up. Can you hear me okay?" Most people don't hesitate. "Yes." And just like that, the scammer may already have exactly what they called for, because in many modern phone scams, that single word is the entire objective. This tactic is widely known as the yes scam. The strategy is simple but incredibly effective. Trick someone into saying the word yes, record it clearly, and then store that audio for potential misuse later. While technology has evolved since those early warnings, the basic trap still works the same way today. Scammers understand something about human behavior that most people never think about. When someone asks a simple question, we feel socially obligated to respond politely and quickly. And the easiest response in the English language is yes. That's why the questions scammers use are carefully designed to trigger that exact word. They often sound harmless, even routine. "Can you hear me clearly? Is this the homeowner? Are you the account holder? Did you receive our notice?" Each question nudges the victim toward the same response: yes. Once that word is spoken clearly, the caller often ends the call almost immediately. Sometimes they hang up, sometimes the line goes silent. Occasionally, they pretend the connection dropped. To the person who answered the phone, it just feels like a glitch. But on the other end, the recording may already be saved, and that's where things become dangerous. That one word can be extracted from the audio, cleaned up, and inserted into other recordings. With modern editing tools and AI voice processing, scammers can build audio that makes it sound like you approved something you never agreed to. It's essentially the digital equivalent of forging someone's signature. Now, not every system will accept a recorded voice clip as authorization, but scammers operate on probability. When they place thousands of calls every day, even a small chance of success is worth the effort. And the more voice samples they collect, the more convincing their impersonations can become. But unlike the yes trap, this second one doesn't just capture your voice, it confirms your identity, turning your phone number into a highly valuable target on underground scammer lists. The I am identity trap, when one sentence confirms you as the target. Picture this situation for a moment. Your phone rings and the caller asks a simple question. "Hi, I'm looking for Margaret. Is this she?" Most people respond the same way without hesitation. "Yes, this is Margaret," or "I am Margaret." It feels like basic phone etiquette. You're simply confirming who you are so the conversation can continue. But in the world of modern phone scams, that small act of politeness can quietly change how criminals see you. Because the moment you confirm your identity to someone who called you, you've just given them something extremely valuable: verification. And to scammers, that confirmation can be worth far more than the short conversation that follows. Here's why. Criminal groups around the world maintain massive databases of phone numbers. Some lists contain millions of numbers collected from leaked data, online forums, or public records. But those lists aren't equally valuable. A phone number that never answers calls isn't very useful. A number that answers but refuses to speak isn't much better. But a number connected to a real person who confirms their identity, that's a gold mine. According to the Federal Communications Commission Robocall Response Report for 2023, Americans receive an estimated 4.7 billion robocalls every single month, many generated by automated dialing systems designed to identify live targets. Think about that scale for a moment. Billions of calls every month are essentially phishing expeditions. Scammers are constantly testing numbers to see which ones belong to real people. The moment someone confirms their name, the number moves from a dead lead to a verified verified contact. And once that happens, the situation changes dramatically, because your number doesn't just stay in one scammer's system. It can be sold, traded, or shared across multiple criminal networks. In underground markets, verified numbers connected to real identities are significantly more valuable than random numbers. That means the simple phrase, "I am Margaret," doesn't just answer a question. It labels your phone number as active, reachable, and associated with a real person. And suddenly, your number becomes far more attractive to future scammers. Now imagine what happens next. A few weeks later, you receive another call. This time, the person sounds more prepared. They may already know your name. They might reference a service you use or claim to represent your bank. Why? Because that first call confirmed you were worth targeting. In some cases, scammers even use these early calls to build what they call lead qualification. The first caller's job is simply to confirm identity. Later callers attempt more sophisticated scams, such as impersonating financial institutions, government agencies, or tech support. To the victim, it feels like separate incidents, but in reality, it's often part of a layered strategy. Now here's the part most people don't realize. When you say "I am," or "this is," you're not only confirming your identity, you're also giving scammers a clean recording of your voice saying your own name. And that audio clip can be extremely valuable when paired with the voice recordings captured earlier, because once scammers know both who you are and what your voice sounds like, they can attempt far more convincing impersonation scams later. This is why the phrase "I am" is the second set of words security experts warn people about when answering unknown calls. You never want to confirm your identity to someone who contacted you first. And that simple rule leads to the most important question of all. If you shouldn't say yes, and you shouldn't say "I am" when someone asks for you, then what exactly should you say when an unknown number calls? The 3-second rule. Why silence can defeat many scam calls. Most people think answering a phone call requires one simple action. Speak immediately. Hello? Yes, who's this? But that instinct is exactly what many scam systems are waiting for. That's why cybersecurity experts now recommend a counterintuitive strategy when answering unknown numbers. Say nothing for a few seconds, simply listen. It may feel awkward at first, but those few seconds can reveal a lot about who is actually calling. Here's why. A large percentage of scam calls today are generated by automated robo-dialer systems. These systems can call thousands of numbers per hour, but they aren't designed to talk immediately. Instead, they are programmed to wait for one thing before connecting the call to a live scammer: a human voice. If there's silence, the software often assumes it has reached a disconnected number, voicemail system, or inactive line, and it simply hangs up, which means silence can sometimes defeat the scam before it even starts. But if a real person is on the other end, say a delivery driver, doctor's office, or colleague, they will usually speak first. Hello? Is someone there? Now you know it's a real caller. Those 3 seconds may seem insignificant, but they shift the power of the conversation back to you. Instead of immediately giving away your voice, you're forcing the caller to reveal themselves first, and that small shift can disrupt many scam attempts before they even gain momentum. But silence alone isn't enough protection. Some scam calls are handled by real people from the beginning. They're trained to guide conversations quickly and push victims into answering questions without thinking, which means the moment they start speaking, you need another strategy ready. Flip the script. The one question that disarms most scammers. Once the caller begins speaking, many people fall into the same trap. They start answering questions. It feels natural. Someone asks if this is your number, your house, or your name, and you respond without thinking. But the moment you start answering their questions, the scammer controls the conversation, and that's exactly where they want you. So here's the move that instantly disrupts their script. Instead of answering their question, ask one of your own. A simple phrase works best. Who is calling, please? That short sentence does something powerful. It doesn't confirm your identity. It doesn't provide your voice saying anything useful. And most importantly, it forces the caller to explain themselves first. The moment you reverse that pattern, the script starts to fall apart. Imagine the caller says, "Hi, is this Robert?" Instead of replying, "Yes, this is Robert," you calmly respond, "Who is calling?" Now the burden shifts to them. If they give a name, your next step is another question. What company are you calling from? And if they claim to represent an organization, you can ask one more. What is the call regarding? Scammers hate these questions. Their scripts depend on speed. The longer they have to explain themselves, the more likely the call collapses. Many will stumble, become vague, or hang up entirely. Some may give generic answers like customer customer service or account department without naming a real company. And that's usually the moment you know something isn't right. This technique also protects you from accidentally confirming information the caller already guessed. If they randomly try a name, asking them who they're calling prevents you from verifying whether they guessed correctly. You're essentially giving them nothing they can use. But sometimes scammers push further. They may claim to be from your bank, your phone provider, or even a government agency. They may sound professional, calm, and convincing. And when that happens, the safest move isn't continuing the conversation, it's ending it. Because the final and most powerful defense against phone scams is a rule security experts repeat over and over. Never trust an incoming call that claims to represent an official organization. Instead, you verify it yourself. The verification hang-up rule, the safest way to handle official calls. Security experts emphasize one rule above almost anything else. Never trust an incoming call that claims to represent an official organization, even if the caller ID looks legitimate. Caller ID spoofing allows scammers to make a phone number appear as though it belongs to a bank, government office, or company when it actually doesn't. That means the safest response when someone claims to represent an institution is surprisingly simple. End the call, then verify it yourself. Security experts often call this the verification hang-up rule, and it works like this. If someone says they are from your bank, calmly respond with a line like, "Thank you for letting me know. I'll call the bank directly using the number on my card." Then hang up, don't argue, don't explain further, just end the call. After that, locate the official number from a trusted source, such as the phone number printed on the back of your debit card, a recent bank statement, or the company's official website. Call that number yourself and ask if the issue is real. If the original call was legitimate, the organization will already have a record of the situation. But if it was a scam, the caller disappears the moment you take control of the verification process. This step works because scammers cannot intercept calls you make directly to verified numbers. Their entire strategy depends on keeping you inside the conversation they started. Once you leave that conversation, their control disappears. Scams have always evolved with technology. Years ago, criminals wanted your credit card numbers or bank passwords. Today, just a few seconds of audio can now be turned into a digital signature. If you've ever had the unfortunate experience of getting a call like the ones explained in this video, comment what happened below. And if you found this helpful, share this with someone who still answers every ringing phone, especially parents, grandparents, or older relatives who may not realize how these scams work yet. One conversation could save them from becoming the next target.